What's up? It's Andy Grammer with Jag.
Hi, this is Carly Rae Jepsen, and you're listening to Jag.
Hey, everybody, it's Joe Jonas hanging with Jag.
This is Heather Knox with the hottest Jag I've ever seen.
Ryan Seacrest with Jag.
It's B.O.B. checking in with my homie Jag. So much swag with my homie Jag.
It's the Jag Show podcast.
Welcome in, I am John Jag. The big news from the first half of this week, Apple is changing its podcast phrasing from subscribe to follow. Tom Webster of Edison Research says 47% of non-podcast listeners think it costs money to subscribe to podcasts. Thus, it's a barrier to entry. So follow, like Twitter or other social media, is a better word. I've said subscribe for free in many of my podcasts, but I think follow is going to be better going forward. The big news from the second half of the week, yesterday, Thursday, Edison Research unveiled its 2021 Infinite Dial Survey, which for my money is the gold standard in podcasting data. Now, the study of U.S. adults ages 12 and up covers everything from smart devices to social media to in-car listening, even video games. But of course, the podcasting data is what I'm drawn to every year. Weekly time spent listening to all online audio now at an all-time high. It jumped an hour in time spent listening over the last year to 16 hours and 14 minutes per person. Spotify is now the biggest player in online audio. And while it hasn't beaten Apple in podcasting specifically yet, it is making huge gains overall, and I think it'll overtake Apple in the next year or so. Demographics among podcast listeners are continuing to diversify. They are still majority white, but gains in Black and Hispanic Americans have gotten closer to an overall representation of the U.S. population. U.S. weekly podcast listeners listen to an average of 8 episodes per week across 5.1 different shows. Now, the U.S. population age 12 and up regarding podcasting compared to a year ago, just before the pandemic. 78% of American adults are now familiar with podcasting. That's up from 75% in 2020. 57% have listened to a podcast, up from 55%. 41% are listening every month, up from 37%. And 28% are listening every week. That's 80 million people, up from 2020. A lot of numbers there. If you had a hard time digesting it, got a link to the full research study in today's show notes. Finally, seemingly proving my theory that the iHeartRadio app is well promoted but not widely used amongst people who don't actually work in radio, I found this nugget interesting. 72% of survey respondents had an awareness of the iHeartRadio brand. 72% knew about it, thanks to its massive push on terrestrial radio. But only 10% had actually used the app in the last month. Womp womp. Again, link to the entire Infinite Dial study. It's long, but it's mostly graphs. It's a quick skim. It is in today's show notes. You can also get it at edisonresearch.com. Other podcasting news this week, better analytics are soon coming to Google Podcasts. Also a like and dislike button. The analytics are going to be good because a lot of people are not seeing much data on their Google Podcast dashboard. So that'll be a good thing as Google is slow, but eventually catching up. Entercom has bought the company Podcorn for $22.5 million. It's a platform that connects podcasters with advertisers. Entercom has already bought Pineapple Street Studios and Cadence 13. They want to own the entire vertical just like iHeart does. The competition for Clubhouse continuing to heat up. Mark Cuban's Fireside app, I started to tell you about this last week. It's already in beta in iOS. And Twitter's Spaces feature is going to be open to everybody by April. And finally, Apple, with so many kids at home and so many more people listening to podcasts, they are curating a podcast playlist for kids. Link in the show notes. As always, if you want to know more about podcasting or if I can help you launch or improve your existing podcast, you can find me at jagindetroit.com or you can send me an email, jag@jagindetroit.com. Until next week, stay healthy and stay safe. Later.
Thanks for listening to the Jag Show podcast. For help with your podcast, find Jag on social media at Jag in Detroit or on the web at jagindetroit.com.